Today we're going to rank the most addictive video games using this, a tier list. We will go from F tier, the least addictive, to S tier, the most addictive. But this isn't just any tier list, it's one based on science.
Yes, science!
I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But for now, let's rank our first game. This is a game that has captured the imagination of millions. But let's be honest, the game is about more than just blocks and creepers. It's a canvas for creative obsession. Let's break down the 5 categories that we're going to use to rate every game today. First, social features. How much does the game push you to play with others? In Minecraft's case, multiplayer is completely optional. You can play alone forever and never miss out on content. This is very different from games that force you to team up to progress. Second, gambling-like features. Think loot boxes, collectibles, random rewards, and chance-based systems. Minecraft is pretty clean here. No loot boxes, no gacha mechanics, no gambling elements at all. Third, personal investment. This looks at daily login rewards, time pressure, progression systems, and financial investment. While you can complete the game by defeating Ender Dragon, there is endless content for you to pursue beyond that. However, Minecraft also doesn't pressure you to log in daily or punish you for taking breaks. You can pick it up or put it down whenever you want. Fourth, accessibility. How easy is it for you to play anytime, anywhere? Minecraft scores pretty high here. It's on every platform and super easy to jump into. Finally, world design. This examines realism, grinding mechanics, and exploration systems. Minecraft has some grinding for resources, but it's largely optional and at your own pace. Want to spend hours perfecting your redstone contraption? That's on you. Adding it all up, Minecraft lands in C tier. However, this ranking applies only to the core mechanics of the game. I did mention that multiplayer is optional, and if you choose to play on realms with a few of your friends, the core gameplay remains pretty much the same. However, if you choose to start playing on some of the larger servers such as Hypixel, all of this changes. Hypixel and other servers like it alter the core mechanics to create completely new game modes. Take Skyblock for example. The game mode hits all the criteria for high potential of addiction. It features gambling-like elements with rare drops, crafting rare pets, and dice rolls. Personal investment. Keeping in-game currency in the bank gains you interest which you have to log in to collect. Additionally, all of your minions that generate resources have limited storage. Thus, you have to log in to clear it up so they can continue working. World design. Incorporates heavy grinding mechanics with its level up and quest system, as well as microtransactions to buy in-game currency to get ahead of other players. But all of this is far from the core mechanics of the game. So we will place Minecraft Hypixel and other large servers in A tier. Interesting, right? How a seemingly innocent game with low potential of addiction can be spun off into something much more sinister. And as you will see, Minecraft isn't the only game that has been modded into a worse version of itself. So pay close attention, because as we climb this list, you're going to see how game companies evolved from making games to engineering addiction. And trust me, by the time we reach S tier, you'll never look at gaming the same way again. Now, before we go to the next game, I want to quickly address why we chose these 5 categories. Well, in 2024, I worked with researchers at the University of Calgary on a groundbreaking study. We wanted to answer one question: can we actually measure how addictive a video game is? And for the first time ever, we created a scientific way to measure the addiction potential of a video game. And what we discovered? Some of your favorite games aren't just games anymore. Let me show you how deep this rabbit hole goes. And trust me, some of these results are going to shock you. Now, if Minecraft is about creativity, our next game is about efficiency. Same time investment, completely different obsession. Welcome to Factorio, or as the community calls it, Cracktorio. Picture this. You've just optimized your factory to produce iron plates 10% faster, and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you're debating whether to fix one more conveyor belt or go to bed. Spoiler alert, the belt always wins. Here's how Factorio stacks up. Social features. Like Minecraft, multiplayer is optional. You can build your factory empire completely solo without any social obligations. Gambling-like features. Again, it's clean. No loot boxes, no random rewards, no microtransactions at all. Personal investment. This is where things get interesting. While Minecraft lets you chill, Factorio's core loop is literally called the factory must grow.
The factory must grow. The factory must grow. The factory must grow. The factory must grow. The factory. Must Grow.
There's always one more optimization, one more expansion, one more thing to fix. Accessibility. One platform, no mobile version, steep learning curve, actually scores lower than Minecraft here. World design. Every aspect of the game feeds into the one more thing mentality. Your factory is never truly finished, and there's always another upgrade to chase. So adding these up, despite its reputation, Factorio also lands in C tier. And this is proof that addiction isn't just about engagement, it's about the mechanics behind it. Next, we have Elden Ring, 2024's Game of the Year, that had everyone talking and dying a lot. But how addictive is it really? Here's how it ranks. Social features, minimal. Co-op and messaging are optional. You can play the entire game offline and never miss out. Gambling-like features, none. No microtransactions, no loot boxes. Just a complete game for you to enjoy at launch. Personal investment. No FOMO here. Whether you play today or next year, the experience remains unchanged. Accessibility. It's a one-time purchase and available on major platforms, but no mobile version or cross progression. World design. While there's optional grinding for levels and items, there's a clear end to the game. You can actually finish Elden Ring, a video game that doesn't go on endlessly. Imagine that. This lands Elden Ring in D tier. Now, this might be surprising for a game that was as viral as Elden Ring, but this is why looking at the science is so interesting. Elden Ring proves you can make an incredible, engaging game that people play for hundreds of hours without needing addictive mechanics to make it happen. And this brings up a key point of addiction we need to mention. Addiction isn't only about the hours you spend playing, but about how the game you play affects your life. So before we dive into our next game, I want to invite you to consider your own gaming habits. Are you just having fun? Or might there be signs of a problem? You can do this by taking my quick 9-question video game addiction test to find out. Not only will you get a clear picture of where you stand, but you'll also get specific tips depending on your level of addiction to regain control. To take the test, just click the link in the description. It might be the most important gaming decision you make today. Now, speaking of games designed to be addictive, let's talk about Valorant, Riot Games' competitive shooter. Imagine this. It's match point in overtime. Your team is down 1v4. Your hands are trembling, but somehow muscle memory takes over. One click, boom, headshot. Second player peeks, another headshot. The adrenaline is coursing through your veins now. Third player whiffs their spray. You don't. And as you hit that final headshot for the ace clutch, Discord erupts. Everyone is screaming, dude, that was sick. The dopamine hit is amazing. The flow state, unmatched. And that feeling, you'll keep chasing that high again and again. So before I reveal where Valorant ranks, I want to know what you think. So drop a comment with your guess, because this one actually sparked some heated debate in our research. Think about it. This is a game where your rank becomes your identity. Every match requires perfect teamwork and communication. Competitive games like this thrive on progression and improvement, but it's also surprisingly clean with no loot boxes or predatory monetization. It's free to play on PC with relatively low system requirements, but every match feels like a fresh challenge, keeping players coming back for more. Despite its intensity, here's what's interesting. When we actually apply the science, Valorant lands in B tier. That's because while Valorant absolutely nails the competitive social aspects, it's actually missing a lot of modern addiction mechanics. No battle pass to grind, no daily login rewards, no predatory loot boxes anymore. And this leads us to something important that we discovered in our research about competitive games, compared to games designed to drain your wallet. But before we get into that, let's look at a game that takes monetization to a whole new level. Fortnite, a game that's made billions not from being paid to win, but by making teens think flossing is cool. Who would have thought? But what really hooks players is one of the most sophisticated retention systems ever designed. The Battle Pass FOMO keeps you logging in daily, and seasonal updates keep the game fresh. There are constant collaborations from Marvel to Star Wars that feed your nostalgia. There are live events that make every season feel unique, while increasing your need to play now, not later. And skins turn your locker into a status symbol at school. Otherwise, you might be bullied for being a default. Just ask Alana, whose 9-year-old son Cody started playing during the pandemic. When she'd tell him his gaming time was up, he'd beg to continue. If she refused, he'd have panic attacks, wailing and weeping for hours. He'd agonize on the floor and tell his parents he wanted to die, all over a simple game of Fortnite. It was like taking heroin away from an addict, she said. It even got so bad that one time, when she locked him outside to play with his brother, He smashed the door's window trying to get back in. When we put this through our scientific framework, Fortnite lands in A tier. And this reveals something crucial about addiction mechanics compared to popularity. While Fortnite is a master of FOMO and monetization, it actually gives players more control than you might think. You can still play completely free, skip seasons without losing progress, or play solo without social pressure. That is, if all of your friends aren't Fortnite players. So with that said, if you think Fortnite's battle pass is manipulative, wait until you see what our next game does. And here's where things get really interesting. Genshin Impact. On the surface, Genshin looks like just another beautiful open world game. Gorgeous art style, amazing music, fun characters. But underneath the pretty graphics, this game is an absolute masterclass in addiction mechanics. See, Genshin doesn't just want you to play today. It needs you to play every day. And it uses every psychological trick in the book to make sure you do. See, while Fortnite sells you dances, Genshin, it sells you hope. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. and you've been farming Primo Gems for months. The new character banner is up. Maybe it's Raiden Shogun or Hu Tao. Your pity is at 75. You've calculated every possible Primo Gem from every possible source, done every daily commission, cleared the spiral abyss, searched every corner of the map for that one chest you might have missed. You click wish and Gold Star appears. Your heart stops. It's Chi-Chi again. But instead of quitting, you're already opening your wallet because hope is the most addictive currency of all. Hope that your next wish will be the character you want. Hope that you'll finally complete your perfect team. And this is brilliant in an evil sort of way. Your daily Genshin routine becomes like a second job. Log in, do your commissions, spend your resin, run your expeditions, mine your ore, and if you skip any of it, you're behind. Players often find themselves exhausted but unable to stop, knowing every missed day is premium currency they'll never get back. Running this through our framework, Genshin Impact lands in S tier. Yes, our first S tier game. And believe me, it earns that spot. This is a game that has mastered every addictive mechanic we studied. But here's what's really interesting. Genshin isn't even the final boss of addictive game design, because our next game, it wrote the Bible on keeping players hooked. World of Warcraft. You know, it's actually perfect that we're talking about WoW right after Genshin Impact, because while Genshin perfected modern addiction mechanics, WoW invented them. And I experienced this firsthand. I was 18 when I started playing. At the time, my life was a mess. A few months prior, I had dropped out of high school for the second time. I was working a job at a restaurant and living with my girlfriend in an apartment. But we broke up, so I moved back home. And WoW became my new life. The first time I logged in, I had no idea what this game would become. That I'd start scheduling my sleep around raid times. That I'd know the exact millisecond to move on every boss fight. That I'd feel more connected to my guild than even my own family. See, before WoW, games were just games. You played them, beat them, and you moved on with your life. But World of Warcraft changed everything, especially for people like me who were struggling in life. In WoW, I was someone well-liked, respected, and I got to feel a constant feeling of progress. Every day I woke up knowing exactly what I needed to do. Whereas in my real life, I felt lost and rejected. And the genius part, the game is literally designed so you can never finish it. There's always another piece of gear that might drop, another achievement to chase, another reputation to grind. I remember spending hours and days and weeks grinding for my flying mount. I had actually calculated exactly how long it would take. That's how deep I was. I wasn't only planning my life around my goals in WoW. The only goals I had in life were the ones I had in WoW. Running this through our framework, World of Warcraft lands in S tier. But what's fascinating is how WoW achieves this ranking. See, modern games like Genshin use gambling mechanics and FOMO to keep you hooked. But WoW uses something much more powerful. It becomes your life. For me, no amount of time was ever enough. The more I played, the more I wanted to play. The more I gave up everything. School, work, relationships, even my own health. I was totally depressed, but nothing else mattered but WoW. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It's not just about addiction mechanics. It's about finding a new world where you finally feel like you belong. I haven't played WoW in years, but even today, even knowing how it affected me, there's still a part of me that wishes I could go back. That's how powerful those mechanics are. Now, speaking of powerful social mechanics, let's look at a game that took WoW's formula and cranked it up to 11. But before we get to that one, let's take a look at Helldivers 2. You know, it's actually perfect timing to look at Helldivers 2, because while we've been talking about all these super addictive games, this one shows what happens when a modern game deliberately avoids those mechanics. Back in 2024, everyone was talking about Helldivers 2. It had the intense missions, the co-op gameplay, and the progression system, but something was different. See, most modern games would have loaded this up with battle passes, daily login rewards, and limited time events you can't miss. But Helldivers 2, it just lets you play the game. Imagine that. Want to take a week off? No problem. Your gear will be exactly where you left it. No daily missions that expire, no events or battle pass levels to be missed. Now, yes, Helldivers 2 does have a battle pass system, but it's more of a game expansion, as each battle pass once introduced stays in the game and doesn't expire, meaning you can progress through each one at your own pace, even whenever you want. Although the game had a huge amount of hype, which led to a surge of players, once those players had a chance to complete most of the content, they just left and went on to find new games. There wasn't a major reason to stay. So running this through our framework, Helldivers 2 lands in C tier. And that's actually impressive in today's gaming landscape, because making a successful game without addictive mechanics actually takes guts. Now pay close attention to this next part, because while we've been talking about games that want your money, or want your time, we're about to look at something far more cunning. Games that want your identity. And this is where our research took an unexpected turn. League of Legends. You know what's fascinating about League? Most people who play it will tell you they hate it. They'll literally say, this game is ruining my life, all while queuing up for another match. They just can't help themselves. And that's exactly what caught our attention in our research. Why do people keep playing a game they claim to hate? Now, the answer is actually brilliant and terrifying. See, League isn't just a game, it's your competitive identity. Your rank becomes who you are. Are you bronze? Silver, diamond? But here's where a league shows its true genius, the concept of decay. So let me tell you about one of my clients. He actually reached Challenger and was ranked one of the top 60 players in his position in Asia. Now, most players would see this as the ultimate achievement, a dream come true. But for him, it became his prison. He couldn't stop playing because of all the work he put into achieving Challenger with decay. Think about that. The game would literally punish him for not playing, even if he spent thousands of hours trying to reach the top. But it goes beyond that, because he also couldn't just play a little bit, because to remain in Challenger, he had to perform at a really high level. And the game knows exactly how to leverage this against you. Lost 3 games, you can't end on a loss. Won 3 games, better keep that momentum going. Your friends are all playing, you can't let them climb without you.
The game League of Legends has the system where if you win a game that day, you get some extra points to buy a new character. And there were days when I came home from my practice and I would be like 11 in the night and I didn't want to play a game, I wanted to go to bed. But I was like, oh, there's this reward. If I play just one game and if I win it, I get these extra points. And I would lose that game. But like, I really need those points now. I play another game and sometimes it would be like 3 or 4 games until I finally won. And it would be 2 in the morning and I'd be sitting there like, I didn't want to do this. I think I was tricked.
So you were addicted.
I would say so, yes, I would say so.
And here's where it gets really sick. League combines this intense social pressure with something that even World of Warcraft never had. Perfect competitive balance. No paid advantages, no gear advantages, just you, your skill, and the endless chase for improvement. Well, that and all your toxic teammates. Now, running this through our framework, League of Legends isn't just S tier. It might be the most addictive game ever designed. But the truly intriguing part, all of this actually evolved from an even earlier game, a mod for Warcraft 3 called Defense of the Ancients. And while League took that formula and made it more accessible, our next game went in the opposite direction, creating something even more compelling, something that would push addiction potential to its absolute limit. Dota 2, a game where the addiction runs deeper than just competitive identity. See, while League of Legends hooks you through pure competition, Dota 2 creates something more complex. Think about what this game demands of you. Matches often last over an hour, and there's not even a surrender option. You're literally locked in with 4 teammates who all need to perform perfectly and not be toxic. And the learning curve, it's more like a learning cliff. But that's exactly what makes it so addictive. because every small improvement feels like huge progress. Your first rampage, you'll remember it forever. That time you landed a perfect 5-man black hole, your hands were shaking for an hour afterwards. But here's what Dota players know better than anyone else. Those moments come at a cost. You'll spend hundreds of hours studying replays, memorizing ward spots, practicing last hits. You'll lose friends who you forget to message back when you're too busy playing. You'll rage at teammates, at yourself, at IceFrog. But you'll keep coming back. Because Dota isn't just a game, it's an obsession to master the impossible. And this is where it gets dark, because winning in Dota 2 creates this incredible high. You feel unstoppable, like you finally mastered the game. But losing, it can ruin your entire day. Losing streaks can make you feel like rage quitting life itself. But what do you do when you're feeling down? You queue up again. It's a vicious cycle, and the complexity of the game ensures you're never done learning. There's always another strategy, another build, another technique to master. Then add the battle pass system on top of everything else. And you've got FOMO driving you even when you're burned out. Running this through our framework, Dota 2 joins League in S tier. It's not just a game, it's an endless cycle of highs and lows that keeps players coming back, even when they know they should stop. Roblox, where addiction isn't just programmed, it's user-generated. See, while Dota 2 hooks players with skill mastery, Roblox did something even more clever. They created a universe where kids aren't just players, they're creators, entrepreneurs, social stars. Now just imagine you're 13 years old, and you create a game in Roblox, and suddenly other kids at school are playing your game. You're not just a player anymore, you're a developer. But that's where things get dark, because Roblox isn't just about creating games, it's about creating addiction. There's always a new game to try, a new item to collect, a new limited time event you can't miss. Your friends are playing different games across the platform, so you're constantly hopping between them just to stay connected. And at the center of it all, Robux. Want that rare hat everyone's talking about? Robux. Want to make your avatar stand out? Robux. Want to keep up with your friends? You guessed it, Robux. Now, let me tell you about how dangerous this can actually get, because I had a 17-year-old client who started by stealing his parents' credit cards to spend money in Roblox. Now, when they caught him and cut him off, he began stealing from his part-time job instead. See, for him, playing wasn't enough. He needed the constant rush of spending money in the game. At 17, he ended up with a criminal record, all for a game that's supposed to be designed for kids. Running this through our framework, Roblox lands in A tier. Here's why. While Roblox is masterful at monetization and social pressure, it actually gives players more freedom than our S tier game. You can still hop between games, take breaks, and play at your own pace. But you want to know what's really wild? Our next game did something even more seducing. Let's talk about FIFA, specifically FIFA Ultimate Team. And yes, I know it's now called EAFC 2069. See, while Roblox perfected monetization for kids, FIFA did something far more seductive. They turned your passion for football into a gambling machine. But wait, EA doesn't call them loot boxes. They're player packs. You're not gambling, you're building your dream team.
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. What we look at as surprise mechanics.
You're not addicted, you're a football enthusiast. Let me tell you the story of my friend Johnny. Or better yet, allow him to share it himself.
So I started playing FIFA when I was about 7 years old, and I started playing Ultimate Team when I was 12. I'd be spending £5 at a time, which turned into £10 and turned into £20. A few weeks before my exams, I would be putting £80 onto the game 4 or 5 times in one night. The point came where the money just ran out. I thought I'd spent maximum maybe £700. It wasn't an amount of money I'd ever been used to dealing with before. It turned out when my parents went through the bank statements that I'd spent about £2,700 in total. I'll remember that conversation for the rest of my life, and I'll always remember that my mum told me that I'd broken her heart with the money that I'd spent. So I think my message to other young people out there playing FIFA or opening packs would just be to be aware that there's something that can be, really dangerous, and they can become addictive.
And here's where FIFA's genius lies. They've created this perfect system of addiction. First, they tap into your emotions. These aren't just random cards. They're your heroes. The players you watch every weekend. Your friend packed Rashford? Well, now you need him too. Watching the World Cup? Here's a special Mbappe card you can only get this week. Then comes the pressure. Weekend League demands 15 games in just 3 days. And it used to be 30. Special cards available for only a week. Miss them, they're gone forever. That constant fear of missing out keeps you logging in, keeps you spending. But here's what makes it all even worse. Every year, the game hits the reset button. That team you spent hundreds or thousands building, it's gone. You have to start over, spend all that money once again. Running this through our framework, FIFA lands in A tier. Here's why. While FIFA's pack system is a master manipulator, you can still play regular matches without Ultimate Team. You can take breaks, you can even play offline. But what makes FIFA truly disgusting is that it's rated E for everyone. A game using the same psychological tricks as slot machines is marketed to 3-year-olds. Now, if you think FIFA's gambling mechanics are sophisticated, wait until you see what happens when developers decide to turn addiction into a science. Welcome to Path of Exile, where the real endgame isn't even in the game, it's in Excel spreadsheets. Here's a game that's technically free to play, but Path of Exile isn't trying to empty your wallet. It's after something much more valuable, your mind. See, most games give you a skill tree. Path of Exile gives you a skill forest. Not even kidding. The passive tree is so vast and complex that players literally need third-party tools just to plan their characters. And this is where it gets interesting. As a player, you find yourself lying in bed at night theory crafting new builds. Some of you even dream about Path of Exile, waking up just to start planning a new character. The true endgame isn't about the maps or bosses. It's the endless pursuit of the perfect build. But that's just the beginning, because every 3 months, Path of Exile drops a new league, new mechanics, new items, new economy. Your old characters move to Standard League. But here's the brilliant part by the developers. You want to start over. The fresh economy, the race to try new builds, the excitement of discovering new mechanics. It creates a perfect storm of engagement. But this rabbit hole goes deeper. Players literally take time off work for league launches. They call it League Start, and it's become a massive community event where everyone races to experience new content together. All of a sudden, you find yourself playing 60+ hours in a week while ignoring all of your responsibilities. Well, unless you're Elon Musk and have the cash to buy a ghost player to rush through it for you. So where does Path of Exile rank in our framework? A tier. Although Path of Exile has many addiction mechanics, they are generally less predatory than other modern games. No battle pass, no pay to win, no daily login requirements. Just an incredibly deep game that respects your intelligence while completely consuming your thoughts. It's not about forcing you to play. It's about making you want to play. Okay, now let me tell you a story about how Blizzard took Path of Exile's formula and streamlined it for mass appeal. So back in 2012, Diablo 3 launched with something called the Real Money Auction House, literally letting players sell items for actual cash. It was so controversial, Blizzard eventually had to remove it. Fast forward to 2024, Diablo 4 launches with a different approach to keeping players engaged. See, where Path of Exile demands your mind with its complexity, Diablo 4 does something more subtle. Every demon you kill, every legendary that drops, every upgrade you find, it's all perfectly tuned to hit that dopamine sweet spot. See, in Path of Exile, you were always thinking about builds, but in Diablo 4, you're always chasing just one more dungeon for that perfect item. It's like gaming comfort food. You know exactly what you're getting, and that's what makes it so hard to stop. But here's where it gets really interesting. Blizzard wasn't just satisfied with making the game feel good. They added every modern retention trick in the book. Season Pass, check. Battle Pass, check. FOMO events, check. Limited time cosmetics, check. Missed the vampire season, too bad. Skip a week, your friends are already in uber rare gear. Take a break, the whole meta changed while you were gone. Running this through our framework, Diablo 4 lands in B tier. Here's why. While Diablo 4 has every modern monetization trick, it's missing something crucial that Path of Exile mastered. The endless depth that keeps your mind engaged even when you're not playing. And this reveals something important about gaming addiction. Sometimes the most dangerous mechanics aren't the ones trying to empty your wallet, but the ones trying to occupy your mind. And this is exactly why we need science to measure addiction potential. Next, let's talk about Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO that literally destroyed itself and rebuilt from the ashes. And no, I'm not being dramatic. Square Enix literally dropped a moon on their game and remade it because it wasn't good enough. But what's fascinating isn't they rebuilt the game, it's how they completely flipped the MMO addiction playbook. See, while most MMOs try to force you to play every day, Final Fantasy XIV does something bizarre. It tells you to take breaks. The game director literally goes on stage and tells players, hey, if you're getting burned out, it's okay to unsubscribe. We'll be here when you get back. In an industry obsessed with daily active users, Who does that? But here's the genius part. This approach created something more powerful than daily login rewards or FOMO. It created trust. And that trust built one of the most dedicated communities in gaming. Yet beneath this friendly exterior lies something more subtle. Your free company becomes like family. You can't miss raid night because everyone's counting on you. The story pulls you in so deep that hours fade away like minutes. And that beautiful house you spent millions on, better log in every 45 days or you'll lose it. Running this through our framework, Final Fantasy XIV lands in A tier. Think about that. A game that actively tells you to stop playing ranks alongside games designed to be addictive. Because while Final Fantasy XIV doesn't pressure you to log in every day, it does something more sophisticated. It makes you want to stay. It builds real connections, real friendships, real commitments. It's like having a really chill friend who still peer pressures you. They're just really nice about it. If Final Fantasy XIV shows us the gentle side of social hooks, our next game reveals what happens when perfectly engineered gunplay meets slot machine psychology. Destiny 2. You know what's compelling about this game? It's not just the content that hooks you, it's the way the game feels to play. Imagine a slot machine, but instead of pulling a lever, you're executing perfect headshots with some of the most satisfying gunplay ever designed. Every kill gives you that dopamine hit. And sometimes, just sometimes, an exotic engram drops. But here's the really interesting part. When Destiny 2 launched, it actually tried to respect players' time. It had fixed weapon rolls, easy to get exotics, clear endpoints, and players hated it. See, what makes Destiny 2 unique is that the players themselves demanded more addiction mechanics. They wanted random rolls back. They wanted more grind. As one developer put it, players don't want to be told when to stop playing, even if they should stop playing. And this is a good time to mention that when you have an addiction, you're not always making rational decisions. Anyways, the game combines perfectly tuned combat mechanics with variable reward patterns at every level. Kill enemies, random drops. Complete activities, random rewards. Decrypt engrams, random gear. But you have to take some engrams back to the tower first. That's delayed gratification built right into the core loop. So where does it land in our framework? B tier. Here's the thing. While Destiny 2 has mastered the art of variable rewards, it's not trying to trap you with FOMO or competitive pressure. Instead, it's created something much more interesting, a game where the addiction comes from the player's own desire to stay engaged. Next, let's look at a game that proves you don't need any of these addiction mechanics to make a great game. Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year in 2023. Over 600,000 positive reviews on Steam, millions of copies sold, and it shows us something fascinating about addiction compared to engagement. See, most modern games try to keep you playing forever, but Baldur's Gate 3, it does something different. It respects your time by having an actual ending. No battle pass, no daily quests, no FOMO. Instead, it creates something psychologists call flow state, that feeling where you're so absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear. And this is where it gets interesting. Players find themselves starting a quick session at 8 p.m. only to look up and realize it's 4 a.m. Not because the game manipulated them to stay, but because they were genuinely lost in the story, in their choices, in this world they're helping to create. It's like reading a great book. You keep saying just one more chapter because you actually care what happens next. You're building characters, making choices, shaping a story that feels uniquely yours. What makes this particularly interesting is how the game creates addiction-like engagement without using modern retention mechanics. Players still lose entire weekends to the game. They still theory craft character builds. They still immediately start new playthroughs to try different choices. But here's the key difference. You can actually finish it, put it down, come back months later if you want to try a different path. The game will still be there, exactly as you left it. No punishment for taking a break, no pressure to keep up with others. So running this through our framework, Baldur's Gate 3 lands in F tier. And that F, that's actually a badge of honor. Now let's talk about The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. You know what's crazy? Nintendo watched every other company adding battle passes, daily quests, and microtransactions and just said no. Instead, they made a massive open world where the only thing pressing you forward is your own curiosity. Want to build a flying machine? Go for it. Want to spend 80 hours solving shrines? Do it. Want to rush straight to Ganon? That works too. Now, there's a downside to this curiosity. Sensory overload. There's always something to do. Always something new to discover. But there are no daily login bonus, no limited time events, no exclusive gear you'll miss forever if you don't play this week. So running this through our framework, Tears of the Kingdom also lands in F tier. And this brings us to the most important point of this entire video. See, we've looked at some of the most addictive games ever made. Games literally designed to keep you hooked forever. Games that use every psychological trick in the book. Some who have literally developed the Bible of addiction. But Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, they proved something important. You don't need manipulative mechanics to make a great game. You don't need FOMO to keep players interested. Sometimes just making something incredible is enough. The art, the story, the gameplay, that can be enough. So next time you're choosing a game to play, maybe check its addiction tier first. Now, if you found this interesting, drop a comment with which game you're most surprised by. Also, let me know which games you want to see analyzed in part 2. There are plenty more games we need to talk about. But what if you don't want to play games anymore? What if you want to focus on other goals, other dreams in life? Then watch this video.